Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Tuesday, December 10th. Right now, we are talking about rebuilding the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line. I think that when you say rebuilding, maybe it's a little bit of a misnomer because I think for sure the Jaguars have 3 out of their 5 starters locked in for 2025 and really probably beyond that. But you look at Walker Little, just signed a 3-year extension with the Jacksonville Jaguars through the 2027 season. And the Jaguars will have a team out in that contract following 2026. So it could be a 2-year deal for all intents and purposes, but he's going to be your starting left tackle next year. And Anton Harrison will be entering year 3 of his rookie deal. The Jaguars will have his 4th year plus the 5th year option, which would get you into 2026, 2027 as well. With Anton Harrison, he's going to be your starting right tackle. Bottom line, you've got your 2 starting tackles locked in. That's not changing. Ezra Cleveland is going to be your starting left guard. I'd be shocked if that wasn't the case. Cleveland signed a deal with the Jaguars this past offseason. He has played very well for them. I think he's done a really good job both in pass protection, especially being able to create some push in the run game. I think he's been really solid for them. The earliest the Jaguars could reasonably get out of that deal is following 2025 if they want to. He's under contract through 2026. But I think they should try to build around those 3 guys and try to upgrade the other 2 spots that we've got to talk about. But before we get into that, I want to remind y'all, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about rebuilding the Jaguars offensive line. And again, this is where we're really talking about rebuilding. At guard, right guard, and center, I feel like Brandon Sheriff is probably done. You never know, but he's about to turn 33 years old, I think next month. And he's been battling through injuries his whole time here. And kudos to him for being able to do that. Like, he has battled and battled and battled through little things, big things. And before he got to Jacksonville, the knock on him was like he couldn't stay healthy for the full season. And he hasn't stayed healthy for a full season, really, but he's battled through and not missed many games, if any, for the Jaguars. So kudos to Sheriff for being a tough guy, for being a great player, but he's past his prime. He's in the twilight of his career. Will he continue to play? I don't know. You certainly don't want to continue to pay him what you're paying him. You already have some dead money and void years for Brandon Sheriff. I think he's probably done in Jacksonville. Mitch Morse, that's a more interesting one. The Jaguars just signed him this offseason, but he's about the same age as Brandon Sheriff. He's 32 and a half. He'll be 33 before next season. So Mitch Morse, when you look at his contract, the Jaguars did not sign him to a huge deal. He signed a 2-year deal worth $10.5 million total. They did add void years onto the end of it, but they're fairly inconsequential when you look at them. If the Jaguars decided they wanted to move on from Morse, really, I think the only thing that could make sense was a post-June 1 cut. Pre-June 1, you're not saving anything, really. I mean, $750,000 is meaningless, and you got $4.7 in dead money. So Mitch Morse seems like he's probably on the roster next year. Does that mean he has to be guaranteed a job? I don't think so. Could both guys survive another year, Morse and Sheriff, and play okay? I think probably, but they've both fallen off over the last several years. They're not the players they were in their younger days, in their primes. And I think that that's where the Jaguars' attention should be focused when it comes to rebuilding the offensive line as center and right guard. And they're going to have plenty of cap space to sign whoever they want if they so choose, like to go in that direction. Offensive line in free agency, you name it, they can afford it. But it's not like these positions are loaded in free agency either. I don't think you're seeing these really impressive classes of free agents at center or guard. James Daniels would have been a really nice fit because he has the position flex to play center or guard for you. But he tore his Achilles in September, so who knows when he's going to be good to go or if he's ever going to be the same player. You could also just say, hey, we're going to go get a cheap vet or 2, right guard, center, whatever it may be, and we're going to get these positions squared away in the draft early and often. We're going to focus more of our expensive free agent dollars on like wide receiver and cornerback and safety potentially. Think like T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, maybe DeAndre Hopkins, etc. At the wide receiver spot, at safety, we've talked about it a little bit. Andre Cisco, you could sign. Buda Baker would be a huge splash signing. Javon Holland, Justin Reed. At corner, DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward. The Jaguars could end up spending a lot of money there. And I mean, you could try to swing Zach Martin if that makes any sense. I'm honestly not sure. He's older than both Sheriff and Morse. So, like, do you really just want another older player that's a stopgap option who's also not playing his best football at this point in his career? For me, that's kind of a reach, a push. But you could say, again, let's go attack the interior of the offensive line in the draft. Mitch Morse is probably going to at least be on the roster next year. Brandon Sheriff probably not. So you're definitely trying to fill the starting right guard spot if you haven't done so in free agency. And you're also trying to get a center for the future. Because while, Trent Baalke might try to tell you that Luke Fortner is the center of the future, I don't think anybody else thinks that, right, outside of that building. And so if you have a new regime in place, which hopefully you would, otherwise, if you don't have a new regime in place, I could see Trent Baalke signing Brandon Sheriff again. I really could. And saying, oh, we're fine with Mitch Morse and Luke Fortner. But if you have a new decision maker in place, you could say, well, we're going to take Will Campbell at 5. We're not going to draft him to play tackle. We're drafting him because we view him as a blue chip prospect on the interior at center or guard. And I think that would be completely fair. And would he be the highest graded player on my board at 5 overall? No. In all likelihood, probably not. But would he be close? Yeah. My list right now, he's number 7 on my board. Number 7 on my board behind Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Will Johnson, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Malachi Starks. And then you have Will Campbell, again, not as an offensive tackle, as an interior player, guard or center. You could say we're doing that. And then we're also going to attack the interior again. You could maybe if Tyler Booker's available in the top of the second round out of Alabama, or Armand Membu out of Missouri, Marcus Mbo out of Purdue. Maybe a little bit later on, if you say Mitch Morse can start the season at center, and maybe Parker Brailsford can learn behind him out of Alabama, who needs to put on some mass, but he's a great athlete and a really talented young center. So, like, there's options for the Jaguars to rebuild their offensive line. For me, again, Will Campbell probably won't be the top player available on my board, but he will be my final blue chip prospect available. Are you going to take a safety, Malachi Starks, in a world where you've got to protect your quarterback? Are you going to take an Abdul Carter? Again, in a world where you have Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen? I don't know. So, Will Campbell, I would not be mad one bit if the Jaguars draft him and decide that he's going to be their blue chip guy on the interior. Because if you're saying, prioritizing the trenches as your number one priority moving forward and making sure you're taking care of Trevor Lawrence in a big way, yes, getting like a Teteroa McMillan could do that in a big way from a taking care of Trevor Lawrence, but making sure there's not interior pressure can do that as well. And I think taking Will Campbell is your best bet to get a legitimate blue chip starter, supreme talent on the interior, whether you're talking about free agency or the draft. I really do. And he's not just a pass protector. He would help you create push in the run game. Like if he was your center or guard, if he was playing center next to Ezra Cleveland, that's 2 guys that can create push right there, and Walker Little can too. So that's like a whole side of the offensive line from center to left tackle that can create push. Now you're starting to talk about maybe you can create a strength in the running game, right? And then if you're adding him to the right guard spot, and then having Mitch Morse in there for a little while, and then maybe you're trying to add maybe if James Daniels is healthy, he can compete at center for you. Uh, if Campbell's at center and then you draft Armand Mbu or Marcus Mbo, both of those guys have the athleticism, the physicality to create push. Tyler Booker, same thing. So if you want to, you absolutely can say with this draft class, you can say, we're going in on the offensive line. We're going to take care of our needs at wide receiver and cornerback early on in free agency and safety. Yes, we will draft younger players there as well, but we're going to take care early on in the draft of offensive line and make sure that we're A, protecting Trevor Lawrence in the best way we possibly can, and B, generating a more powerful and better run blocking interior as well. And I think that would go a long way for the Jaguars. That's just kind of my thoughts right now. You know, December 10th, still a long way to go. Season's not over. A lot will happen roster wise for the Jaguars and all the rest of the teams in the NFL. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let me know what you think about rebuilding the Jaguars interior offensive line in the comment section below. And y'all have a good one.